Ladies and gentlemen, I come to you tonight with grave news. Currently ongoing, Democrats are staging an insurrection against federal authorities in an attempt to overthrow the government. Already, Democrat reps have attacked federal law enforcement, and a Democrat mayor has been arrested for insurrection. Of course, this means that Republicans will be launching the 5-9 Commission to investigate why Democrats were storming into an ICE facility. An attack like this has not occurred since 9/11. If only we were Democrats, that opening would be true. But the reality is Democrats did storm an ICE facility. A Democrat rep did attack federal law enforcement and storm her way into a federal facility. And a Democrat mayor actually was arrested. But I'm not so stupid to think that they were trying to overthrow the government. They're just breaking the law. But hey, if we want to, tit for tat, uphold the law the way we're supposed to, I say these people get, 2-3 years in solitary, and then we'll see how they feel about their insurrection. That's the big news. It's kind of crazy. It's breaking right now. It's currently unfolding. We've got a lot of different video from here. We've got a couple different stories as well. Texas is going after Google, announcing a major settlement for privacy invasion. We've got Stephen Miller saying they're exploring suspending habeas corpus.
Nice.
It's going to get crazy out there, my friends. And then, of course, we've got Donald Trump signing an executive order to give free flights to illegal immigrants. So we'll talk about all that before we get started, my friends. We got a great sponsor. It is Tax Network USA. Go to tnusa.com and /Tim and check it out. Tax day may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is beginning. If you missed the April 15th deadline or still owe back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse. With over 5,000 new tax liens filed daily and tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments, the IRS is applying pressure at levels we haven't seen in years. Increased administrative scrutiny means collections are moving fast. The good news, there's still time for Tax Network USA to help. Self-employed or business owner, even if your books are a mess, they've got it covered. Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos and getting you back on track fast. Even after the deadline, it's not too late to regain control. Your consultation is completely free, and acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies before they escalate. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Tim. You may have missed the deadline, but you haven't run out of options. Let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes the next move. Also, don't forget, we got Cast Brew Coffee at castbrew.com. That's easy enough to remember. We've got a bunch of different blends. Check out Appalachian Nights. Soon we will have Whole Bean Graphene Dream and K-Cups. Coming soon. Don't forget to smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Terry Schilling.
Thanks so much for having me, Tim. I'm excited to be here. This is the first. Actually, I saw Pepper at the Mother's Day tea yesterday. It was awesome. Your wife.
It was a great event.
It was great to have her, and I'm just excited to be here. I love seeing you as a dad. I think that becoming a dad is a really important step, and just becoming a more full human being. And you are digging into it, and it's just really cool to see. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, who are you? What do you do?
I run American Principles Project, and the best way to describe what we do is we're big family. There's big pharma, big oil, big tobacco. We're a big family. We represent parents' rights and the innocence of children. Most specifically, we fight against all of the trans insanity. So if you're transing kids or putting men and girls sports or men and women's locker rooms, we're coming for you. We're going to unelect you, run campaign ads against you, and we pass laws to help stop all this insanity.
Right on. Thanks for hanging out. We got Brett hanging out.
Guys, what is going on? It's Brett. Normally Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday at 3 p.m., but I'm here tonight. Let's go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and a counter-revolutionary. Let's go.
We have this from the New York Times, my friends. Newark's mayor arrested at protest outside ICE detention center. Well, you may have seen the videos. It's quite alarming. And upon seeing the New York Times headline, I felt they're trying. They really are. But they're not getting to the truth. So I decided to help them out with a new headline. Democrat insurrectionists lay siege to federal facility in attempt to overthrow government. 420 69th precinct cops dead. Such an attack has not been seen since 9/11, and everyone is sad because Democrats are committing a terror.
Massive tragedy. Massive tragedy.
Massive.
It's just such a specific number and a specific precinct.
It is quite a coincidence. The original joke we made is I didn't have the cops dying or whatever. And then I realized, we got to lie about cops dying because they still do it to this day. There was, I think it was Cash Kash Patel, I think, was talking to some woman, and she said insurrectionists beat and killed police officers. And I'm like,
Yes.
they just make that stuff up. They just make it up. But we do have videos. So let me show you what we got here. This is the video of Newark Mayor Baraka being arrested. Check this out. There he is getting arrested. And you may be wondering why, and it's because of this. Check this out. This is in the red right here, attacking federal law enforcement. That's a Democrat rep. And you can see Democrats, and when I say Democrats storming an ICE facility, I'm not talking about like voters. These are actual elected Democrats storming an ICE facility. It's crazy. I say lock them all up. A couple years in solitary,
prison.
maybe.
Actual prison.
What would they do to us? I mean, what would they do to Marco
merciless
Rubio?
beatings.
What would they do to Trump?
What would they do to a parent that had the audacity to go to a PTO meeting
That's right.
and say they didn't like the curriculum?
That's right.
They
They
might
send
have
the
the FBI look at them, throw them in jail, throw them in prison. Let's get a trial going. I want to see him go to prison.
Is this for clicks, though? I mean, they're obviously trying to get arrested.
Yeah, it is connected to the fact that Democrats have nothing to actually run on because essentially, again, they're at an ICE facility. They're complaining about the quality of the place, that whether or not it meets standards or whatever. But really, they're just complaining that Republicans are going to go ahead and deport actual criminals. And this is boilerplate stuff for the Democrats. This is what they've been doing, standing up for criminals, not just standing up for people that are here illegally that are just trying to stay under the radar and work a job, which I think they should get out of here too. But the Democrats are actually looking to stand up for criminals because they're absolutely retarded.
Well, and they're all criminals themselves.
Oh, yes.
Look, I think that Dems are in deep, deep trouble. There's two elections most recently where the incumbent president maintain control of both chambers of Congress. 1998, Bill Clinton, Republicans overstepped on Lewinsky stuff. And then 2002, when Dems were obstructing President Bush's national security agenda. I think that this is way worse than obstruction because this is destruction, right? They are involved in an agenda that's destroying our kids, destroying our country, and they are representing criminals. And that whole Salvadorian guy, the Maryland man hoax, they had to pull the plug on that because they saw the numbers in the polling were so bad for them.
Yeah.
I want to agree with you, but I'm still of the opinion that, I agree with you on everything you're saying, but I am still of the opinion that the economy is still going to be the big factor when it comes to, the midterms. So if the economy is doing okay, which, as of right now, you've got, you have the deal that they just made with the UK. There are a couple other deals that they started talking about. If they can get actual deals and get the stock market to chill out and get the average person to feel like things are okay economically, I do think the Democrats are in serious, serious trouble. If the economy is not there, I'm iffy about it.
I think you're right. Oh, so go ahead.
Does that lend a little bit of difficulty to Trump's approach, where it's just like with all of the executive orders and everything that was done, it's like I think I heard it described as like a carpet bombing approach to politics, and that does leave people feeling a bit uneasy. Is that perhaps something working against him that may be unintended for the midterms?
I think that it could, but Donald Trump is a pragmatist. He's not an ideologue. He is going to do something, and if it doesn't work, he is going to change course. He will, come up with whatever story makes him look good, or however he can spin it to make him look good. But even if it's almost a bold-faced lie, but he will change course because what he does want is positive results for America. He's not an ideologue. He's not like, we have to do this even if it costs me political points. The thing that he wants is results for the American people.
Yeah, and he pays attention to the polls. He is a very astute politician. He knows how to sell this stuff. I do think, though, Phil, on top, the economy could be humming, but I was a little bit bullish because we all know Republicans tend to screw things up.
They are very good at that. There is no denying that.
Well, then, okay, so let me ask you this. So you mentioned that you said that Democrats don't really have anything to run on right now, or at least it's felt that way for a very long time. If we were trying to like armchair quarterback for them and actually give them a platform that doesn't run them headlong into everything that Trump is doing, because most of what Trump is doing does seem as if it's at the very least good for the American economy down the line, how would Democrats change course and then find an actual platform that will do something for them?
Well, look, I think the Trump question has been answered. I think the American people want to move on. We litigated. He won in 2016, whatever the narrative is. I think the 2020 election was rigged, but he wasn't in office, and then they put him back in 2024. So I think Americans want to move on. I think the real opportunity is to have some reasonable Democrats pull a Tip O'Neill, start working with them to like secure the border, clean up immigration. They know this stuff's a problem. Kick out the violent offenders. No one will punish Democrats for teaming up with Republicans to get out the violent offenders. But I also think that there are some easy wins when it comes to tax policy. Democrats are the party of tariffs. You know, my dad was a one-term member of Congress. The number one attack against him was that he wouldn't raise taxes on companies that ship jobs overseas. Team up on that. Go against the slave labor countries like China. And I don't know. I think it's now time for them to seem reasonable. Drop the trans stuff. Like, you got to drop the trans stuff. Yeah. This is actually a 90-10 issue at this point. Drop the trans stuff. Stop transing kids. Get this crazy stuff out of school. Stop weaponizing the government against parents. I don't know, moderate a little bit.
The only position they have is orange man bad.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're too ideologically driven to do that. So it's too embedded in their platform now, whatever that platform may be. If you use Hollywood as the mouthpiece and the media as the mouthpiece, they've spent too long talking about 90-10 issues
15 years.
On the 10% that they can't walk that back in any meaningful way. And I think that the ideological rot within the party makes normally, like, they have to go towards wedge issues because all of the moderate policies go against the stronghold of the ideological people there.
Part of the problem is they've spent so much time demonizing Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is a populist, working class, a pro-working class kind of guy. He reshaped the Republican Party, and now he owns the middle. He owns the working class. Democrats used to own the working class, but they have lost them because they decided to go with the racial identity politics and try to focus on that. They could have aligned with Donald Trump and been extremely strong and had a lot of the policies that they preferred, economic policies that they preferred, have the president totally back them, but they decided that they were going to treat him as if he was Hitler, blah blah blah, and try to demonize him. And now I don't think that they have the ability to come back from that. Like you're saying, I don't think they have the ability to come back from that and actually become a middle of the road party again. Though I do think the opportunity is there. I just don't think that they have the people in the Democratic Party that'll do that.
Well, you're bringing this up, and I want to ask you the question because I work in elections. This is like my life. Winning elections, the key to it is striking that delicate balance between firing up your base, making sure that they're motivated to go to the polls on election day, especially in these midterms, but then also not being too crazy for the moderates. My question to you guys is, do you think that Democrats have jumped the shark and developed, with all their hysteria about Trump, developed a super extreme base that will abandon them in the midterms if they don't go crazy?
Well, it's split. Right. So when we looked at Democrat favorability, for one, favorability generally is way down, but this is largely due to Democrats hating themselves. AOC is the front runner in terms of favorability, but she has 10%. Mm-hmm. So it is this massive field. The reality is there is no Democratic Party anymore. There is no unified presence. There is no unified ideology. There's no party mandate, and there's no leader. So you've got a bunch of different worldviews, a bunch of different ideologies, and none of them get along with each other.
Okay.
Except for we hate Trump.
Well, do you think Barack Obama, let's say you could get a third term. Do you think if he ran for the nomination, do you think he would get it?
No. Oh, yes. I was going to say he won't win. He's not going to win. Obama represents a party that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Those middle of the road voters that voted in Obama switched for Trump.
Right.
So, in fact, I would argue that if he did win, the reason why I think he could win the primary, superdelegates,
yes,
I don't think he'd have an easy go of it.
On that.
Right. He wouldn't have an easy go of it.
Yeah.
Well, and there's nobody else with any even close to the name recognition that somebody like him has. That's why they always float.
Deporter in chief, he can't stand right now.
I mean, look, I think there's a lot of for the diehards who know that happened or understand that may be one thing, but for the average everyday person, they don't know that Barack Obama was called that, nor do they know anything about the amount of deportations that happened under his watch. They have kind of rose-tinted glasses for those years, not realizing just how.
The virtue signaling of the Democrat base would require them to bring up any and every issue. So right now, considering all the ICE stuff, Obama's got no move.
And back when he was in office was before the rise of social media, and he really was kind of steel-manned as the kind of savior that he was by the media, and that kind of the bloom is off the rose when it comes to stuff like that now.
Yeah, I mean, it's my sense that there's still a lot of normies that are not politically plugged in, that, like you said, they would still feel like, oh, Obama was great. I don't know if there are enough to actually get him into office again, but he did lose. He lost votes in the second term. People were like, all right, well, this wasn't quite what I had hoped for. And I do absolutely think that a lot of the Trump voters, they are Obama voters, but like that was representative of what we were saying, which is the Democrats have lost the middle. They've lost the working class people because they have been the party of the very rich and the dependent class for so long now, at least 10 years at least,
Do the Republicans still struggle in the midterms, though? Without Trump on the ballot, they tend to struggle, and it seems like they lose seats whenever they lost seats when Trump was in his first term when they went into the midterms, if I remember correctly. I could be misremembering that. And then, red wave. No. Like, it feels like when he's not on the ballot, the base is not motivated to come out in the same way.
That's true,
Yeah.
but they tend to, the party in power does tend to lose in the midterms. So where, there wasn't a red wave, but I do think that the Republicans still won more seats in Biden's midterm than I don't think that the Democrats took over. I don't remember exactly, but
that's what I'm saying, though. Like, when Trump isn't on the ballot and if he's in office, then it feels like they're going to lose, like you said, because they are in power right now, so they're going to cede some seats.
I think that it partially depends on the map, but I think that it's likely that they'll lose some seats. But the way that the people that are up for election, if I understand correctly, it's favorable to the Republicans.
Yeah, the Senate map is very bad for Democrats because they have a bunch of open seats that are held right now by Democrats. There's not a lot of competitive seats with Republicans as incumbents.
Good.
And plus, they have Georgia, which I think we could actually take back this year. Austin's not very popular.
Just so long as Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't run. I'm not liking that. I mean, she can be fun and funny, but what?
You think she'll lose?
I think she'd lose, yeah. I think that she's a little too extreme for the average Georgia voter, personally.
I don't know. I'm looking at, Democrats just stormed an ICE facility. Everybody's, there's no middle. And I think what Democrats are doing here is going to be bad news for them. This is going to be eaten up by Republicans who are going to be like, see, if you want chaos, vote Democrat. Trump's offering up plans. Here's what I want to do. Here's what I hope will happen. And some say those plans are bad. Democrats don't even have plans.
Right. Yeah, listen, there's nothing that I want more than to be wrong about that. I want to see Republicans take the Senate and take the House. Absolutely. I'm apprehensive about if they're actually capable of doing it. So it's not like I'm like, oh, screw her. I would love to see Marjorie Taylor Greene win. I just don't think that it'll happen.
Can I get something on my chest real quick?
Sure.
That's going on.
No,
in
you
Congress.
can't.
This big, beautiful bill that they're talking about.
Yeah.
So we are so close to actually, for the first time ever, defunding Planned Parenthood. It is very close, but there's like 10 members in these tough districts who are raising holy hell about it. My problem is this: you have Planned Parenthood that gets over $500 million a year in federal funding to abort more babies, sterilize more women, and sterilize children through these transgender surgeries. We have a birth dearth. We have $37 trillion in debt. And on top of that, Planned Parenthood is going to spend another $60 million on electing Republicans this year. And I just don't understand, like, if this was a pro-life, crisis pregnancy center network all across America helping people have babies, there's no question Democrats would cut that. In fact, we don't have anything even close to the Planned Parenthood. I don't know what the hell's wrong with these guys.
I mean, look, I I don't know, but I know that because of how I don't know what's wrong with those guys, but I know that because of the because of omnibus bills and because you want to get your stuff passed, you have to eat a ton of garbage to get your stuff passed. Everyone just pours their pet projects into the garbage pail, and then everyone says, "Well, we hate all the stuff that you're going to get, but at least we're getting all of our stuff." So they hold their nose and vote it. I hate omnibus bills for that reason, but there's we just don't have the votes to actually have the bills that we want passed. So you have the stuff you have to do with omnibus.
The only way to have the votes is to have like 275 plus.
Yeah,
it's never going to happen. Congress is dead. Like Congress is a dysfunctional branch of the government.
All we need is a new president. The presidency is overpowered.
Well, but you've got a judiciary and an executive branch that are both in and of
Judiciary
themselves.
is way overpowered.
Right, and the legislative is doing nothing. So the judges are giving these universal mandates, which are unconstitutional, and Donald Trump is trying to use every semantic argument he has under codified law to do what he wants to do. You've got two branches that are asserting extreme authorities, and then you've got the legislative branch doing nothing. So I just think you look at what's going on with Democrats now trying to storm to an ICE facility, and I'm like, guys, do we expect this to get better? I mean, we keep saying it's going to get worse. Come on, time travel test. Go back 3 years and say Democrats would storm ICE facilities. They'd be like, what?
Well, but your point about these being elected officials, these are not like Antifa goons or anything like that. These are actual elected officials that have to worry about elections.
Democrat elected officials attacked law enforcement. Let me say that again for you. Elected Democrat officials, a member of Congress, a mayor, physically attacked law enforcement.
Prison.
How is that possible? I was told nobody's above the law.
I mean,
I don't care about any semantics or whatever, or argument like platitudes. The point is, we are now at the point in this country where elected Democrats are physically attacking law enforcement.
Well, this is in New Jersey, and New Jersey has statewide elections. They have a governor's race this year in November. I really hope that, there's just Jack Ciattarelli that's running. That's really good. He almost won in the last election. They have to capitalize on this. They need to be running campaign ads with these mayors and all of these elected officials. Just punish the hell out of them over it.
I mean, I would love to see them get punished. I'd love to see them go to prison. I would love to see, but I mean,
Do you know what'll happen if they go to prison? Summer of Love 2.0.
I would.
Escalation. I do not see how this does not escalate. I mean, certainly there is a pathway forward where the left just doesn't come out and protest. Fine. But they're all defending this. I mean, what do we got? Ed Krasenstein, right? You know him, you love him. This is the scene at DHS where Newark Mayor Ras Baraka is being held after his arrest by Trump's Gestapo.
Oh.
I mean, bro, they attacked law enforcement, got arrested for it. It's not a Gestapo, it's a regular cop. Like, if you walk up to any cop and hit him, he's going to arrest you. It's not a Gestapo.
Krasenstein's just.
Well, and he's going to go to jail. I mean, he's not going to prison yet.
Does he have the whole video there, or is it an edited video? So, okay.
I mean,
He's banking.
No.
He's banking on nobody seeing the video of the actual attack, and that the low info voter will look at that and be like, "Oh my gosh, Trump's Gestapo is arresting federal employees."
Here's a video. Newark Mayor Ras Baraka was arrested. We'll skip Ed. He's literally attacking cops.
He's trying. It's so obvious.
yeah.
Get your hands off of me, brother. They're attacking cops.
Yep.
These are Democrat elected officials physically attacking law enforcement.
And they're doing it because they want to be arrested. It's all theater.
Right.
So arrest them. Throw them in jail.
And now here's the response from the serfs. Masked security forces arresting their political opponents as part of a regime accelerating a fascist takeover.
It's such clown world BS.
Yeah, fine, but the point is they're escalating it every single day. And then when they punch a cop and the cop arrests them, they go, "Oh no, the fascists are attacking us."
Yep.
Yeah. It's exhausting because you see this kind of behavior from the left consistently. If they can't get what they want, passed through legislation, they do these kind of tactics.
Is this the point where we say it's fair to say this is civil strife? When elected Democrats are attacking law enforcement, they're getting arrested. Judges are getting arrested. You had 6 people, Democrats in Texas, arrested for election fraud.
What happened with that?
There were council members and judges, or a judge, I think it was one judge and a couple council members, as well as other Democrats, political campaigners, were arrested for a fraud ring. Okay. They were doing voter fraud.
And
they were accused of.
The scary thing about this is you've talked about it before. Is these tactics have been used at protests for years to kind of incite the cops, and then only record what happens when the cops retaliate, so that you can post about the cops acting like fascists. And that was when you were talking about regular, everyday protesters, not actually employed government officials.
I mean, to call them regular everyday protesters is a little bit of an overstatement because the tactics that they're using, like they are planned out, that it is not like, oh, this accidentally happened. Like they go there with intent to do a thing to get, the image. And in the social media world, where you can do things like just grab that little video clip off of anyone that has a phone around you, it's extremely effective.
Pro-level protesters, though.
Pro-level, there you go. Pro-level. But I mean, I don't know what else to say other than they're going to keep doing this.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse as the summer goes on.
Yeah, and I don't know what the effective counter for this is.
Video, having the evidence and the ability to post out what actually happened, because back in the day there would have been limited sources of information, and the people who posted, if only one person has the clip and they only show you the edited clip, then you're never going to get the full story. But being able to record and get the whole thing out there is important.
I'm not sure that I agree, and the reason is because we were talking earlier before the show about the people that still believe the Very Fine People hoax. You've got the whole video out there. You can show them, and they see it, and they still deny it. So the point is,
but those people are always going to be there. It's the normal people you're trying to reach.
Those are the people that get fired up, and I don't even think that it takes it's a very small percentage of the population that will see something, believe it, see more information, and then say, "Oh, I was wrong."
Oh, okay. So you're saying like being able to be shown the whole video after only seeing the clip.
Yeah, and the little clip is enough to inspire people to say, "Oh no, bad things are going on. I have to get out in the streets." So my point being is, like, what action on the ground do you do to prevent that? Because you can't let them just walk over you and do whatever they want. And then as soon as you have the police go out there and actually do what is legal, which is say, okay, we're going to have to arrest you for trespassing, you're breaking the law, and they say, oh, the Gestapo's here, and they get the clip, like, what's the effective means of diffusing it before it turns into a propaganda thing for the left? And because this is something that the left has done, and they have manuals. That's what that book Good Trouble is, right? The whole book is about doing these type of political operations to basically psyop people.
Rules for radicals.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look, exactly.
I kind of want to push back just a little bit. Because the Dems they thought they were going to get away with the Maryland man hoax, right? But they didn't. They had to pull back on that because the information just kept coming out and coming out. I think there has been not a good enough shift, but I think maybe an enough shift where the Dems are actually sensitive stuff. This, I think, you see this video, you're going to know it's a stunt. This was obviously planned out. I just think that it's changed. It's not the 2016 stuff. And I just don't know how many people actually think that Trump is a racist. I don't think he would have won in 2024 if they still believe that video from 2016 or 2020 or whatever.
It is shocking how many people still believe the Very Fine People hoax.
And to be fair, it is mostly boomers, and the people that are most pro-Trump are Gen Z,
right?
And they're almost totally inoculated to accusations like racist and stuff like that.
It is interesting because I recorded a show with Adam Conover earlier, so there'll be some spoilers. You'll see it next week because we aired the Culture War Live. One, he didn't know the Very Fine People hoax was a hoax. He legit thought Trump actually called Nazis Very Fine People. And we ended up talking about how every demographic is pro-Trump except for 70 plus, every age demographic. Mm-hmm. And so it's an interesting phenomenon then when you take a look at what the left is trying to latch onto when every demographic is, except for I think 40 is a tie.
Yeah.
And then every other demographic is pro-Trump. So if the younger generations are pro-Trump, what are these like liberal podcasters hoping to latch onto? There's no market for what they're proposing, except for the boomers who, with all like the older boomers, because boomers are 60 plus, but the 70 plus crowd is within 10 years, passing on. So what will be left of the liberal movement?
I don't know, but do you think that that approval rating with the older, Trump's in the tank with the oldest Americans? Do you think that's because they're the least online, that they're the least likely to get this, and they're the most
they're on
likely to watch?
MSNBC,
Yeah,
CNN.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing that you brought up, Phil, because Phil was talking about how people being shown videos after they've seen the initial clip. You see the 11-second clip that's been shown to make it look like, oh, they were just arrested for no reason, right? And we look at how fascist everybody is. And then when you show them evidence to the contrary, they almost kind of rebuke. They don't want to actually believe it. And I feel like maybe that's just a difference between now and back in 2016 or closer to 2020. Like when I started seeing evidence of just how badly clips were being manipulated by the media, where clips were being edited to prevent you from getting the full context of something, that enraged me. It didn't make me want to push back and not believe it. It made me angry to believe that I was being lied to about something like that. But now it's like there's almost too much ego around, when you get your information, you want to believe that you're right. And especially if you're online enough and you're talking a lot about politics, it's hard to be like, I was wrong. Yeah. Right. So it's almost like it's a fear response to not want to admit that you got something wrong. And that's led a lot of people down.
Everybody always.
Well, yeah.
Humans have always been.
But I mean, that doesn't make it any less true for the situation. And if a lot of people aren't changing their opinions because they're scared of being seen as having gotten by somebody else, then they're not going to want to admit it.
It's impossible to not got.
Yeah.
Because even the gotters will pull you out of context. Yeah. And that's largely what they do. It's largely a phenomenon of the liberal left, and it's because they don't actually read the news. For example, we had Tara Palmieri. Am I pronouncing her name right?
Yeah, I think so.
And she didn't know the Very Fine People hoax was a hoax. She thought Trump actually called Nazis fine people. And then again today, when I was talking to Adam Conover, same thing. And I don't want to spoil too much, but he just said, "Look, I'm not in your bubble," and I'm like, "This is just the news. Yeah. It's not a bubble. It's just, do you read CNN? Because I do."
It's also like that's their implicit trust of the media. If they read the headline and they said this is what he said.
No, but sorry to interrupt. But this is the point. They didn't read the headline. They heard it from someone else. Yeah. So if you actually read the headline, Snopes debunked it. The headline straight up says, "No, Trump didn't do this."
How long ago did Snopes debunk it?
A year ago.
Okay, but they're not. They haven't read the headline since it happened in 2017.
Sure.
And then it's just just in their brain.
I don't think they read the headlines at all.
You don't think it's at all?
I really don't. That's why they believe things that are not true. They hear talking points from pundits or clips or Jen Psaki on MSNBC. They don't actually look into these stories. Or John Oliver. A better example is they probably get their news from John Oliver and Jordan Klepper.
He's insufferable.
Yeah.
It's all lies.
Yeah. And it's not funny. John Oliver is not funny at all.
Well, he's funny in a did you ever watch King of the Hill? You ever see King of the Hill?
Yeah.
Remember when Bobby was doing the morning announcements and he couldn't get any joke to land? So Peggy was like, "People are stupid. Bang the cowbell and they'll laugh." And so then she's like, "I'll show you how to do it. Say a line and then I'll holler and bang the cowbell," and you're telling them to laugh. That's what liberals get from their news. So they laugh at John Oliver because he tells them when to laugh.
Did you see, during COVID, Bill Maher did a whole episode where he didn't have a live audience. And when you don't have the audience laughing with you, it just falls all flat. It's crazy.
That's bad. You should have seen when WWE was trying to do like shows with no audience. That was 10 times worse.
Hey, guys, we did the Culture War live, and that went up today on YouTube and Rumble. It is a whole different ball game when you're doing a debate and you have an audience. It's a million times more fun, entertaining, and like even the liberal dude in our arguments he did, we are laughing and having a good time. It's way better with an audience.
Phil, did you heckle people?
Oh, I was hollering.
Excellent. Excellent. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Pisco was frustrating.
Phil was scary. He was beat red. And we were like,
Pisco was
hoax.
Pisco was very frustrating. A lot of the things that he was saying were really, really frustrating to listen.
But he's got balls.
He does. He got up there.
He's like, "I'm going to come and stand in a room of 60 conservatives and libertarians and tell them why they're wrong."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, man."
That's pretty respectable.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because most of them are too scared to do it. Most of the liberals don't want to do it. Yeah. So I respect the ones that do.
But You should definitely watch the show. It's if you haven't
We're gonna
seen
do
it,
more.
go check it out. And if you can come out to a live one, come. I'll be there. It'll be fun. We can holler together.
Now I'm going to come to the next
You
one.
should definitely
do
go.
it.
It'd be great.
Hurst says Tim got spicy AF. Did I?
What was spicy?
I don't know.
Oh,
was
wait,
yelling.
on Culture War?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
It was good. It was.
I was like, what was said here tonight that was spicy?
Well, I'll bring up one of the things I brought up then because it applies now. I asked Will specifically, Will Chamberlain. The judiciary is doing whatever it wants. These universal injunctions are unconstitutional. Donald Trump is actually, Kristi Noem said this to me. We are using every law and every interpretation that we can to get Trump's agenda through because the courts are trying to block us. And so if you want to approach this from a neutral view, Trump is using every tactic in the book and every word that can be arranged as such to do what he wants. And the judiciary is saying we can issue these rulings that affect the entire country. Unconstitutional. So what do we do as a country? Will started saying Congress is supposed to do these things. And I stopped him. I said, Congress can't do anything. What happens in this country when you have two branches that are just going to keep doing what they want? There's two factions fighting for control of one government.
And the legislative branch is over here just napping.
The other issue I brought up too is we have laws on the books we don't adhere to.
Right.
You can't put a pie on your windowsill on Tuesdays in Boston, whatever. I don't know. Those old laws that don't make sense anymore. So clearly, and this is, I guess anarchist philosophy, the only laws that matter are the ones that get enforced by those who have the power to enforce them. Mm-hmm. Which means the Democrats will, and already have, violated the rights of many innocent Americans and the president himself. If Trump doesn't bring a commensurate force to that political force, we will all be crushed. But we know what they're doing was unconstitutional and shattered decorum. So we ask of Donald Trump then, go and arrest these people who are destroying the country, and all that will lead to is civil war.
I think this was an oversight from our founding fathers, God rest their souls. They expected lawlessness. They expected tyrants to try and take power, but I don't think they foresaw entire branches of the government that they set up refusing to fight for their own interests. Right?
I think,
yeah.
I think they did, but they couldn't predict a lot of things. I think the speed of the internet has dramatically changed how humans function. For instance, there's the AI bot accounts that are making weird Trump stories.
Yep.
They could never have predicted that. And so these things shatter the brains of regular people. Mm-hmm. To be fair, however, they did say only landowners could vote. Only land-owning men. Yep. And white men at that.
Look,
they were like, who cares what happens? Only we can vote.
Right.
Legitimately, I do think that they were onto something when it came to limiting the franchise. Having everybody in the country be able to vote is probably not a good idea because most people, most people don't vote anyways. They only vote for the president. The fact that Congress has done everything it can to shirk its duties. Congress people don't want to be held accountable for any of their votes, so they've done everything they can to shuffle off power and authority to the executive branch, which is part of the reason why the bureaucracy is as big as it is. They've shuffled off war-making authority to the president, which was demonstrated with the whole authorization to use military force. The reason they don't do anything is because we've allowed them to not do anything. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, the authority that the executive and the bureaucracy has is far beyond anything the founders ever intended. And the fact of the matter is the government isn't supposed to be as involved in our day-to-day lives as they are. The federal government has no place, whether it be Congress or the bureaucracy, has no place deciding how much water can go through a faucet. Yeah. There's no, and the EPA does it all the time. It has no business making these kind of decisions. So a big part of the problem is that the American people have allowed that to get there, because we're not paying attention to what Congress does and because we're not paying attention to how Congress has given power to the president and to the bureaucracy.
It's like we were talking earlier this week about Trump putting tariffs on Hollywood and how putting tariffs on Hollywood is because Hollywood wants tax subsidies. I'm like, no, I don't want a single federal tax dollar going to the absolute evil propagandists that are making all of the material that make you look bad in the first place. If a state wants to do that, if California wants to do it because it bolsters their economy locally, that's fine. They can vote on it in local elections. But
the issue of tariffing movies is how.
Well, yeah, because it's classified as a service, not a good.
Right, and it's digital and online, and it's like I can understand if you're going to put penalties in. But what if a movie's about Africa and it's like...
Well, it's about movies being filmed in foreign lands, so it's
right, so what if a movie is about Africa?
Well, I mean,
we go to Africa and film the movie.
Well, they do the same thing when they put new rules in place as to who could win Oscars, and there had to be racial breakdowns for characters. Like, well, what if it's a movie that took place in like in Italy and something, or in Ireland? It doesn't make any sense, and they found ways around that and stuff like that.
But the question is for a tariff.
Yeah.
It's not like there is a film reel being brought on boat or flown into the country.
Instead, you could do it with DVD. Like, if people still cared about DVDs, I guess you can sell steelbooks and you can do that. But I don't think it's what they want anyways. I think what they want is they want him to give them tax breaks because Gavin Newsom's like, hold up, let's talk about this. And everyone in California is like, let's talk about this because it's beneficial to their economy. I don't think the federal government should be doing anything in relation to to Hollywood. We've got 1,000 things we need to figure out before we even think about going over there. Let's fix the rest of our problems. But that's to what Phil is saying, is that the government is too expansive and too involved in way too much of our lives these days.
What do you guys think about, part of what Trump's trying to do is inspire more patriotism and get more American values in there. What if they had some pro-America movie grants where it's going back to the Founding Fathers and it's got to have pro-America themes?
I say no.
No.
The issue there is I don't want it's difficult. We don't want the government to incentivize ideologies lest they be weaponized for ideologies against us. I can understand the argument in some circumstances where I've literally argued against this very thing. Like when people say, oh, but if you use the powers of the executive branch, then the Democrats will use it against you. My argument there is we're talking about holding politicians accountable for crimes they committed. And so if they committed a crime, we arrest them. That's normal. But empowering the government to then give money and spend our tax dollars to promote a message, I don't want some weird DEI guy to get in there and then get a hold of that institution and turn it against us. What we need to do is we need to build an independent private culture around pro-American values, which basically means everybody give Mel Gibson money.
Yeah. Well, say, like, you can solve that right now. They made a Reagan movie last year. Did anybody go to see it? Not really.
I say it all the time. Captain America. Yeah. The first Captain America movie, conservatives weren't raving and saying every conservative should see it. The conservatives love to rag on woke things, but they do not promote based things. Right. So let me just say it again. The original Captain America movie, you've seen it?
I saw the original, yeah.
So I said the original, but I don't know how many they made.
2011.
The 2011 one, you have a scrawny, sickly young man who's lying to join the military to fight for his country.
It's beautiful.
And then because of his merit, jumping on a grenade and having good, strong American values, he becomes a super soldier. They grant him the super soldier serum through the army, no less. Mm-hmm. He's recruited by the U.S. government, who do an experimental procedure to make him a great soldier. And then he defeats the Nazis, the evil Nazis that were worse than the Nazis, mind you.
Yeah, the extra evil Nazis.
The extra evil Nazis. Conservatives didn't come out and say, this is an amazing message. They just said nothing.
Because they don't care about actual art.
They don't care about art.
Yeah, in the most. And remember, Captain America Winter Soldier is the best movie Marvel ever made.
That's unfortunate that it's true.
Yes.
Great movie. It really is.
But like I say, like if you want to make those movies, you can. The thing is, you have to get audiences to come out for that. They came out for Sound of Freedom, right? The audiences showed up for that because it resonated with conservative audiences because the discussion about child trafficking and things like that was very, very important. Plus, at that time, it was being kind of like Streisand effect by the media's weird dislike for the movie. And everyone's like, what do you have a problem with a movie that criticizes human trafficking?
I want to say this of Captain America. I liked Winter Soldier, but I do want to point this out. When you don't come out politically like the left does, the left comes out and demands woke stuff. Captain America, scrawny guy, lies to join the military, does. The next movie, do you know what Winter Soldier is about? You know how I describe it? The government has actually been infiltrated by the Nazis and is the bad guy now.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is a lot to do with with Nick Fury and the and his peace through strength model that Cap disagrees with.
But the premise of the film is that the Nazis infiltrated the U.S. government's military apparatus, and Captain America, to be a good soldier who believes in his country, has to destroy S.H.I.E.L.D., which is akin to our, intelligence agencies.
They did that same formula, like that's how they ruined Indiana Jones, right? Like Indiana Jones, well, at least the first and the third, they had pro-Christian themes. And then the fourth one comes along and it's just like, oh no, it wasn't God, it was aliens the whole time.
I got to take everything I said back. Winter Soldier's based.
It's a good movie.
Our intelligence agencies have been taken over by communists.
Yeah, they have.
And Captain America's going to come in and shut it all down.
He argues with Nick Fury about that when he's like, we have to do it. We have to have like ships in the sky that can mow down people without a moment's notice, no due process. And Cap's like, well, that's not really what we fought for in World War II. We fought for freedom. You're fighting to just hold a gun to everyone's head and call it freedom.
And did you know that when the scanners are going off, showing names, one of them is Stephen Strange?
Oh, early callback before. I guess that would have been, 2 years before?
Winter
Doctor
Soldier was
Strange?
13?
2014.
Yep,
So it would have been 2 years before Doctor Strange.
Yeah, Brett knows more about this than I do, so.
I haven't even seen Thunderbolts.
He's right.
Brett knows.
You mean New Avengers?
I'm not calling it that.
That's actually in the film.
I know, but I'm not calling it that. That was a
No, it's in the movie.
No, I know, but it's still a marketing ploy. They filmed that stuff 4 weeks before the movie came out.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Because they were like, no one's
going to watch this movie.
Yep.
Though
And they put the star on it, and they killed Taskmaster.
Yeah, good. Which people
dumb.
were mad about from Black Widow to begin with, that they weren't going to get the legit
They
Taskmaster.
got rid of Taskmaster because it was woke.
Yeah,
So,
which is sad because that actress is great.
yeah. And let me just say this. You don't need to know anything about Marvel or the movies. Here's what happened. They released the Black Widow film, and there's a character in Marvel called Taskmaster, which is this big, brutish guy who has a skull mask. And then in the movie, the reveal at the end is Taskmaster is actually a woman.
And it's half the size of what.
Right.
Yeah. They did that in Scream 4 when they have like the hulking size person playing Ghostface, and then it's a girl and she's suddenly like 3 feet shorter than them.
So then with Thunderbolts, this new gender swapped Taskmaster gets shot in the head within a minute. And I think that was them, like Kevin Feige's like, we're firing all the woke people. We're firing everybody. We have burned $1 billion industry because of what they've done. And so it literally starts with Lady Taskmaster and bang, just no more Taskmaster anymore. Got rid of it.
I don't know. It's I'll wait for Disney Plus for that.
The movie's enjoyable. You should see it.
I really do want to go see it. It looks good to me.
Yeah, it's a fun little cheesy action flick. I'm
going to go see Fight or Flight, the new Josh Hartnett movie on the plane. It's basically Bullet Train on a plane.
I heard Sinners is cringe, but good.
Yeah, from what everybody said about it, I went to see The Accountant 2. That's the only one that I've...
That's out now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Who's in that? Is that Ben Affleck?
Yeah. And
I want to see that.
Ben Affleck and Don Bernthal.
Sinners is people are raving about it. But I'm hearing from a bunch of conservatives, they're like, it's super race-obsessed woke garbage, but it's a good movie. And I'm
Well,
like,
I mean,
that's
Ryan Coogler is a very, very good director. He directed the Creed spin-offs of Rocky. He's very good at his job. It's when people argue to say you can't make good woke movies, that's actually not true. You can. It's just really, really difficult.
Well, the problem is woke people are... what's the right word? 'Cause I don't think it's necessarily low IQ. It's a combination of caged. There's not much room you can navigate without getting attacked, but also like unlearned. You know what I mean? It's kind of like when we say that they still think Trump called Nazis fine people. Like they're so, I don't know. They don't know how to read. They don't learn new things. So when
they're not interested. Like they're
not authentic.
Yeah.
I mean, I try not to use the word. Okay, so like I was recently, I posted as like, I just want to see season 2 of High Potential. It's just very, very basic, like network television procedural that I really, really like, starring Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And so I couldn't watch it. It was too woke for me. Like, can you tell me what in the shit? Like, there was nothing in it that was that to me. So the word has lost all meaning in a lot of ways. So unless it's the example, did you see the picture of the show My Lady Jane that had the black disabled King of England? That's now the benchmark I use for if you want to if somebody's trying to describe woke to you, you show them the scene from My Lady Jane, which is a black disabled king of England in the 1700s. And that's pretty much the ballpark definition. If it's that, I can call it. Otherwise, it seems to be a matter of opinion.
I'm really excited for that queer black woman to play Jesus Christ. And
God.
Well, that's Jesus Christ Superstar, though, right?
And it is funny that they were like, how dare Trump mock Christianity while they stand with drag nuns and...
Yeah, the baseball game or whatever. What's that group called?
What is it? The
Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence.
Thank you. I would have never remembered that, but yes. That's just them not being honest.
That's just all they do. They pretend to be outraged by things. Like, this is the thing I see with liberals. They're like, Donald Trump is an authoritarian. And, my question is, okay, assuming that's true, is that distinct from literally any other administration?
Well, is it just that the news didn't report anything negative about a candidate they like, so they just don't know about whatever potential authoritarian?
Well, Obama wore a tan suit.
Yeah, he did.
Shortly after murdering a 16-year-old American citizen, but that's another story.
Wait, I thought the tan suit was his only scandal.
I was told Fast and the Furious never happened.
Yeah, Fast and Furious never happened.
Nor did Operation, was it Timber Sycamore?
Wait, what's that?
Giving ISIS weapons.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
I'm going to pull that one up because people don't believe that's real.
Operation Timber Sycamore?
No, like the whole history of the U.S. government is arming the people that end up trying and killing us.
Mujahideen.
Yeah.
Timber Sycamore was a classified weapons supply and training program run by the CIA and supported by the UK and some Arab intelligence services, including Saudis. The aim was to remove Bashar al-Assad and supplied weaponry and training to Syrian opposition in the Syrian civil war. So in July 2017, U.S. officials stated that Timber Sycamore would be phased out with funds possibly redirected to fighting the Islamic State. The issue was the anti-Assad groups that ultimately rose up was ISIS.
There's part of me that thinks that it wasn't such a great idea to support ISIS and the terrorists in Syria.
And again, it's something like this. How heavily was this reported on by the mainstream press? And the reason why people have such rose-tinted glasses for that time period is you were still getting your information filtered through legacy media sources that were probably being told by their counterparts in the intel agencies to what to report on, what not to report on. So they have this kind of, I imagine it's a feeling of safety where they feel like the world was safer back before 2016. But as much as that coincides with Donald Trump's initial election, it also coincides to heavy use of the internet on your phone and ease of access to information and the democratization of how we get our news, which is a very, very different thing now.
I'm just reading about Timber Sycamore. It's funny. Obama indirectly contributed to the arming of ISIS. Support for Syrian rebels under Obama, the CIA launched Timber Sycamore. These groups lost territory, defected, and then collaborated with the jihadis, forming ISIS and al-Nusra.
Yeah. It's so perfect. It's so.
But so is Fast and the Furious. It's all the same thing,
There was a post yesterday about how Bill Gates said that defunding USAID is killing the world's poorest children, and I was like, you mean like Zunzaneo in Cuba, where we had like the CIA fund building a social media app so that we could influence regime change in Cuba? Those children?
Yeah, I'm not so sure that he's right.
No,
I think he's wrong.
I think he's wrong.
I think he's wrong.
Yeah.
So,
the meme with Ukraine was like, in 20 years, we'll be fighting the Azov battalion with weapons we gave them. Because this is what happens, right? So you had the Mujahideen becomes Al-Qaeda. You have the anti-Assad organizations eventually take all that training and weapons and join ISIS and al-Nusra. And now we're fighting them. And so everyone's like, stop giving money to these rogue groups. We're just going to have to keep fighting them. But that's what they do.
Yep.
Well, what else would they be doing with your tax dollars?
Well, no, it keeps them employed, though, right?
Yeah.
It gives them a sense of purpose. It keeps them busy. It's job protection. It's security.
Yeah.
It's a terrible, terrible, terrible idea.
Well, what is the next group that we end up fighting? Is it the Azov battalion?
I don't know.
I think that it'll probably be some Middle Eastern organization that we're funding right now.
Fantastic.
Israel?
Is
full of
that what that
jokes.
pager was about?
Yeah, right. They're gonna start sending pagers to Americans.
No.
Disavow.
It'll be they'll figure it out to put it into iPhones by then. Don't worry, it won't be pagers.
Maybe. I hope not. I like my iPhone, and I like my anyways.
It's like only the Android users will survive because all of you iPhone users.
Boo.
Oh.
Boo.
Sorry about it.
No, I don't think that we're gonna end up fighting Ukrainians. I think that that's probably outside of the realm of possibility.
Well, we do have this story. Explosions heard at 3 Pakistan air bases, including Nurkan. This is breaking news. We had the biggest dogfight since World War II just the other day, and it's not stopped. The escalation has continued between India and Pakistan. So maybe we'll have to take sides in that conflict, and we'll be fighting China because they're aiding Pakistan, and we are going to be on the side of India.
Well, I mean, it makes sense that we would be fighting China because we don't get along anyways. I don't care what anyone says. We're not just rivals with China. They're our enemy.
Do you know what's truly fascinating about this war is that we are now watching untested weapons finally get tested. Chinese-made fighter jets fighting Western-made fighter jets in India, Pakistan. We don't know how they perform against each other. They've not been battle-tested.
Yeah.
Now, the scary thing with this is the U.S. and China are looking at what's going on, and it's giving them data as to whether or not they can win a conflict. If the U.S. or China is thinking, in the intel, like, hey, we don't know if our fighter jets are going to handle the Chinese advanced jets. We've never encountered like in combat. So that gives us pause. Are we prepared to enter a conflict when we don't know what their weapons are capable of? After watching this, they're going to say yes or no. So this actually opens the door that we come closer to a greater war. People really should be talking about the new modern weapons finally being battle tested. That's scary.
I don't think we're in a good spot with our jets either.
No.
With the F-35, no. The F-22 is still still looking pretty. If I understand correctly, it's pretty good. The F-15 is still undefeated, though, right? So, granted, when it comes to like the modern, like the 5th gen aircraft, yeah, like they're untested and maybe not. But the F-15, that airframe is undefeated. So we have the most advanced aeronautics package in the F-15. So we've given, or we've sold a lot of F-15s to Israelis and to other countries. And they've not been there's not a MiG that's been able to shoot down an F-15 in combat. F-15s are still they were the top dog until the F-22. The F-22 in simulated stuff has been able to take on multiple F-15s. So I don't know 100% that the F-22 is it all that it's talked up to be. I do know that there are problems with the F-35, but I don't think that I don't know how many are actually in combat and stuff. I know they had issues when it came to production, but the F-22 and the F-15 are still top of the line, and they're incredibly capable machines. So I can't say anything. Can't say much for the F-35. I know that Pakistan has F-16s. They both have a lot of MiGs. They both have a lot of Chinese fighters. So I don't know what kind of results you're going to see. Because it does depend on tactics and the pilots themselves. If you're not actually getting time in the simulators and in the air, it doesn't matter. Well, I can't say that it doesn't matter, but the skill of the pilots does matter, because they don't have the most advanced technology. Like, I assume the F-22 does a lot for the pilot, and especially the ability to shoot missiles at targets that you can't see with your eyes and stuff. That radar, you get an AWACS up there with a couple F-15s, they can see stuff that's beyond the horizon and stuff. You can shoot a missile from 100 miles away or something.
Yeah, it's pretty cool technology.
Have you ever seen the meme of Pedro Pascal driving the car and he's smiling really loud? It says, "Life when India and Pakistan get in a nuclear war and all the scam calls and texts stop suddenly."
Yeah.
I mean, small blessings.
If that's what has to happen.
I don't know. Look, a nuclear exchange between India and Pakistan would be bad for the whole world, because even the small nuclear bombs that they have are devastating. And as soon as someone else uses nuclear weapons, It only lowers the threshold necessary for another country to use a nuclear weapon. Right now, it's only the U.S. that's ever used them. It was in World War II, and everyone's like, whoa, and now we saw what could happen with thermonuclear weapons because Fat Man and Little Boy were just atomic bombs, and they annihilated cities. Thermonuclear weapons are thousands of times stronger, and they're far more frightening. And thankfully, nobody has decided that they want to use one in conflict. But that's not to say that if there are nations that start using them, that other nations won't respond.
So if Pakistan were to nuke New Delhi directly, I mean, this is the strength of their strongest bomb. It's bad, but the blast, they'd have to fire like 15 to actually, or more, to cause serious damage to the. And don't get me wrong, it's going to kill a ridiculous amount of people, but 45 kilotons.
Is that their most powerful bomb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just try a warhead yield of like, I don't know, a single megaton bomb. Do we want to do the Minuteman, or should we look at? We got IV Mike 10 megaton bomb.
It's the
Titan
first
Titan 2 US ICBM. Yeah.
The first hydrogen bomb, right?
This is the Titan 2 warhead. The U.S. It's the highest kiloton ICBM the U.S. has ever deployed, and it wipes out all of New Delhi and everything around it.
That's only kilotons, not megatons.
Oh, is that it?
No, it's 9,000. That's a 9 megaton bomb.
Okay, all right.
So let's do 45, which is what Pakistan's got.
Yeah.
So it's bad. It'll take out a handful of neighborhoods of New Delhi.
I still do think that the concept once other countries start using them,
Right.
it'll change the way that people think about.
It's true, but I think people need to understand that in nuclear war, in any kind of war, it's not just nukes.
No.
It's not just. What I mean to say is, if someone uses a 45 kiloton nuclear warhead, it does not mean we retaliate with all of our most powerful nuclear warheads. There's a scale of what a nuke is. It's not just nuke, we'll catch all. So if New Delhi launched a 45, let's do this. If Russia launched a 50 kiloton bomb into Ukraine, that doesn't mean we're going to launch a 9 megaton bomb at Russia. That makes no sense. Right. But people think it does. People think, no, they won't use nukes because then we'll nuke them. I'm like, no, we won't. If they launched a battlefield artillery, 40 kilotons or whatever, and just wiped out a bunch of Ukrainian troops, not a single nation would retaliate with nukes.
That's on the same lines where people think if the U.S. were to strike Iran, that the entire Middle East would erupt into a war where everybody's trying to kill each other. And people are more measured than that. Countries are more measured than that. Or countries are more measured than that. And if one state were to use nuclear weapons, that doesn't mean a full nuclear exchange of the United States and Russia using all of their globally mutually assured destruction policy. But it's still not good. What's that?
This is the I put in the amount of kilotons that the Moab.
Oh,
Remember the Moab, the mother of all bombs. That's how big it is. It's impressive, but it's not a nuke.
yeah, it's definitely not a nuclear bomb.
Although, the preset that I'm using has a radiation blast to it. I always love pulling up the maximum yield Sarbamba. Whoosh. Yeah.
Everything dies.
The biggest bomb ever designed, but never deployed.
So what does the darker yellow mean?
In
That's
the middle,
fireball.
No, sorry. On the outer
This?
ring. Yeah.
you will be burning alive.
And then
Your skin will be peeling off from flames.
And then the gray area, that's like
Shockwave blast. A lot of people will die from the shockwave. Right. Some people will get knocked down. Some people will die getting knocked down. A lot of injuries. Broken glass, buildings shaking.
And then there's going to be radiation even outside of that.
No, this Sarbamba is a non-radio. It's not radioactive. So radiation isn't. Well, let's clarify. There's thermal radiation, which is the heat, but the ionizing radiation. Not all warheads actually have that. That's an intentional design function to cause you problems.
Oh, it's insane the levels that they've designed this stuff. Oh my gosh.
So I added radioactive fallout to the Sarbamba, and you can see there is nothing. But let me try IV Mike. Yeah, see, IV Mike is actually radioactive. So what happens is after
Oh,
it
the wind
detonates-
takes it.
Yep.
What would that look like over Mecca? I'm kidding, joking.
Well, I mean, it is interesting because that's a very serious target, and there would be concerns. Let's.
Bro.
If
It's gonna ban you, dude. There's no way it's
What do you-
gonna let you.
what do you mean?
Yeah, it'll let you.
No, I mean, look. What is the best guess? Let's try this. What is the best guess?
I mean, imagine making
as
nuke map
to
and
the
not letting
size
somebody pick
of
a specific
Israel's
location.
nuclear weapons.
It's not run by Google.
Who runs nuke map?
So the best estimate for Israel is that they have a 100 to 400 kiloton bomb. Some speculate Israel may have a megaton bomb.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's just say 500 kilotons because we're gonna split the baby on that one. Oh, come on! I typed in. I'm sorry. I got to do that. There we go. Wait. Oh, okay. There we go. That's what it would look like.
Wow, that's atrocious.
500. So if Israel were to decide to nuke Mecca, that's what it would look like.
It's my contribution for
Great.
tonight.
I don't know that. I don't know how. I mean,
There are people that are offended.
well, I mean, this is not. There's nothing offensive about this. Israel is a Jewish state at odds with.
No, that's where you would
Islamic
strike.
states.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right.
I think that they would. I mean, I think that they would probably go for. They probably would not
Tehran?
go for religious sites. They would go for Tehran, but they would go for military.
Let's say they got a megaton bomb.
So, like, did the Joint Chiefs like have Trump pull up nuke map when they're discussing battle plans? Is this what they do?
They probably gave us nuke map. Like, this is probably like the civilian
Yeah.
version of what they have.
Probably.
It's the one they put out in the 90s.
Yeah.
That's what we have now.
You get it after the fact.
Yes, we'll always.
But I mean, either way, such a morbid.
The guy coding nuke map.
Nope, that is spelled wrong. Hiroshima. But that was a 15 kiloton bomb.
That's Ivy. Wow, Ivy Mike is huge. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, that's Ivy Mike, but we actually have Fat Man and Little Boy. So, Little Boy, there you go.
Blew up.
Man,
How
that's
bad was-
crazy.
So Hiroshima didn't have significant fallout then, huh?
No, I don't believe so. Old bombs.
That's terrible.
Yeah, the Russians built Tsar Bomba, King Bomb.
Which is
And the only test they ever did was 50 megatons.
Yeah, they hit
which is
half yield.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep. Yes, there's
My goodness.
Yep.
coast to coast.
Japan's actually enormous. I didn't realize how big. It always looks small on the map, but it's an enormous
like
country.
the size of California.
Yeah. Is that how big it is?
Similar. They're not exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
Looks right. Yeah, man. But let's jump to this next story. Talk about how things are going here in the United States. We got this from Mediaite.
I like this.
Stephen Miller says Trump is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus.
Not kidding.
Let's roll tape.
Hold on, there's a question back there first.
Wait, Pundit, I have two quick questions. First, President Trump has talked about potentially suspending habeas corpus to take care of the illegal immigration problem. When could we see that happen, do you think?
Well, the Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at. Look, a lot of it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not. At the end of the day, Congress passed a body of law known as the Immigration and Nationality Act, which stripped Article 3 courts, that's the judicial branch, of jurisdiction over immigration cases. So Congress actually passed, it's called jurisdiction stripping legislation. It passed a number of laws that say that the Article 3 courts aren't even allowed to be involved in immigration cases. Many of you probably don't know this. I'll give you a good example. Are you familiar with the term temporary protected status, or TPS, right? So by statute, the courts are stripped of jurisdiction from overruling a presidential determination or a secretarial determination on TPS when the Secretary of Homeland Security makes that determination. So when Secretary Noem terminated TPS for the illegals that Biden flew into the country, when courts stepped in, they were violating explicit language that Congress had enacted, saying they have no jurisdiction. So it's not just the courts aren't just at war with the executive branch. The courts are at war, these radical rogue judges, with the legislative branch as well, too. So all of that will inform the choices the president ultimately makes, yes.
Mr. Miller.
Was that Elad speaking right there?
That's
It was. I got to play it one more time.
So have you
ultimately
seen?
Real quick.
Makes, yes.
Mr. Miller.
Sounded like Elad.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
So I just saw that on Twitter. Did you see the Lincoln Project tweet
yes.
criticizing?
No, what was it?
Yeah, they were just complaining.
It's a cell phone. It's the Lincoln Project criticizing Trump for suspending habeas corpus. I mean, it's the worst cell phone in history.
That is well because they're hypocrites and they're stupid and they don't read.
And they don't know Lincoln.
Yeah, look, I mean, it would be, it would, it's not unprecedented. And
I bet the community knows it's Abraham Lincoln unilaterally. Oh, the timeline we live in. I hope the people watching are entertained. Yeah.
it would be good to
Ultimately makes, yes.
Mr. Miller.
I do want to just say Stephen Miller is doing a fantastic job giving Americans a civics lesson. I mean,
looks like
he's
he's
explained
having a-
so many great things.
Looks like he's having a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember when they claimed that he was making a white supremacist hand gesture because he was straightening his jacket and he was like this?
Oh, is that back now? Is this?
No, this was the first term.
Oh, okay.
He grabbed his jacket and was pulling his jacket in like this,
He was buttoning it.
and they got a picture of his hands like this, and they
you-
said it was a white supremacist hand
So it
gesture.
was like a double white
Let me see if I can
supremacist
find it.
hand gesture.
Is that an okay? Oh my God! Wait, come on. No, this is some fake nonsense from SPLC. Oops, can I spell it wrong? Is that it? Let's see if we can find that picture. There it is. There it is. We got it. Look
Ladies
at
and
this.
gentlemen.
Here you go. Did Stephen Miller throw a white power sign?
Throw it.
Oh my God! Look at this image.
Oh my God.
What is he doing? Why is he touching his tie like that?
Do you remember Do you remember like the guy who lost his job for like throwing something out his window?
yeah.
And he was making that sign. He was like a construction worker or an electrician or something.
yeah.
No.
it-
What was that?
Yeah, just a guy was like, and he wasn't a white guy, if I remember correctly. Like threw like out his window like a cigarette or something, and his hand was making like an OK sign, and he like lost his job. It was back during Trump's first term, I think.
it would the entire society basically lost their mind
Yeah.
for a few years there.
They never got their mind back.
I think that things are a little more chill now. I don't think you get fired for throwing something out a window where someone sees that they thought that you made the OK hand sign.
Yeah, but there's other kinds of insanity, like firebombing a Tesla station, Tesla dealership,
Yeah.
or charging station.
Yeah, California man fired over alleged white power sign says he was just cracking his knuckles.
Oh.
I hope he sued and
sue,
made,
right?
I hope he
He has to be able to
sued
sue.
and got like just an unlimited amount of money.
Man.
I hope so. But
Yeah.
I doubt it. I don't think he did.
But what about suspending habeas corpus? Yay or nay?
Yay. I'm very much for it. I want to see for non-citizens, right? So if you're here legally, we don't have to put you in front of
Right.
a judge or anything.
But they still have to determine whether you're a citizen or not.
Yeah, I mean I don't think you need to
you-
go in front of a judge for that.
Did you guys see there was a riot broke out in Massachusetts because
Yeah, in Worcester.
Yeah, the illegal immigrants getting arrested and the neighbors started attacking the cops.
They should
Seems
go
like
to
a
jail
pattern.
too.
Let me see if I can find that. That's a big story we probably should talk about. I saw it on Reddit. What is it? Massachusetts? How do you spell Massachusetts?
MASSACH.
What a silly word.
I think suspending habeas corpus for non-citizens is considered due process.
literally
They're
right
getting
there.
the process that they're due, right?
Sending them home. That's
Yeah,
the
here,
big
check
deal.
this out. Check this out. So there's an illegal immigrant being arrested, and then people come out and start attacking the cops.
Every last one of them should be arrested.
Well, the scary thing is, at a certain point, if these are like TDA MS-13, we're getting close to treason.
They should the cops should round them all up, and the cops will get there. They've got body cams on them. They can identify them, round them all up, jail.
And you know what happens after that, right?
No, what happens?
When the cops go in and arrest an entire block of residential of people.
Oh, well, I mean, look, you can't just say, all right, it's fine, we're not going to enforce the law.
I understand that, but it's not about that. The point I'm bringing up is you have entire neighborhoods aiding and abetting illegal immigration, for which the prescribed law is that is a crime. What is it? 8 USC 1324, I think it is. Let me see if I have my code right. 8 U.S. Code 1324. Is that it? Yes, it is. 8 USC 1324, aiding and abetting illegal immigration.
So what do you think it is that has primed U.S. citizens to interfere with these types of things?
We have allowed for 3 generations non-citizens to take residence in this country and have families. And so now you have individuals who, let's say there's like normal American guy lives in a house and he's lived there for 20 years. His neighbor is old Rita, he calls her. She's been there as long as he knows. She was there before him. Illegal immigrant. The government has largely allowed them to stay and hasn't enforced against it. The neighbors, they all know old Rita. Okay, so when the cops come and say she's here illegally, we're arresting her and deporting her, the neighbors are like, what? She's my neighbor. She's lived here for decades. So they're going to fight the cops.
Yeah.
The other issue is that you create whole communities of illegal immigrants. Yeah, they're going to fight the cops because they're going to be like, we're going to stay. You can't kick us out. Mm-hmm. So sure, the cops can come in, and they did. They arrested the daughter of the woman who was being arrested, and they can start arresting people who live there. And the end result is going to be civil war.
And a lot of it is like, for the cases where you're talking about people who are members of MS-13 or gangs, I think that so many Americans have been kind of just hit with endless propaganda about what illegal immigration looks like. And while there are the cases of, like you're saying, the family that's been here for 20 years, they're law-abiding, they don't do anything wrong, the people aren't taking the time to wait and see whether that's what's happening. So they're going to respond the same to them arresting somebody who could be a member of MS-13 or a gang than they are, you know, the woman down the street who hasn't broken at least any laws while in country.
There's no answer to this. I mean, if people start attacking ICE, which we're seeing now from Democratic Democratic Party members, elected officials, and residential neighborhoods,
yeah.
I'm not saying that this will make a civil war start tomorrow. I'm saying that police come in and start arresting these people who rioted, and they say it was a riot, they attacked cops. The left then rallies and says, Trump is sending in federal law enforcement to arrest literal neighbors of people who are trying to save themselves from being disappeared. They're going to start saying things like, Trump disappeared a Maryland man. Mm-hmm. Like Hassan Piker genuinely believed he was from Maryland, said, he's from Maryland, what do you mean? Dude didn't know, they don't read the news. The narrative will then persist that Trump's SS is going around and rounding up random people. And then you're going to get Antifa emboldened. And you're going to get shootings, insurgency, chaos, which in turn will result in Trump, Insurrection Act, arrests, escalation. The left will then, what ends up happening with this stuff? The simple question to ask anybody. Why did your average Southerner fight in the Civil War? Do you know the answer? Average Southerner.
I would say slavery.
No. Why did the average Southerner fight in the Civil War?
Because they believe that
the heritage.
Yeah, because they believe that the North was invading the South and attacking.
Because their home was attacked.
Yeah,
that's it. There's nothing else. Some dudes on a farm with no slaves, and Union soldiers start marching through, firing guns, and they say, "Oh my God!" Now, the powers that be wanted to uphold slavery. They wanted to put it in their constitution, but secession was a convoluted thing, largely related to the issue of slavery. But for the average Southerner, it was, they're attacking us. That's it. Only, I think, 3 to 5% of the South actually owned slaves. Most people didn't.
Yeah.
And so you're some bumpkin on a farm being shot at, and you're like, I'm at war. What's going to happen then when federal law enforcement starts arresting these people? There's going to be a guy who's going to say, I don't care about illegal immigrants. I don't care about the left. I don't care about Trump. I want to watch football. But a bullet went through my window when law enforcement came in and was shooting at these insurrectionists or whatever. These people who live in my neighborhood, I have no choice. I live here. I'm with them. It's fascinating that people don't understand, like, they don't think through the basic breakdown of how these things happen because they haven't read what the people who fought in the Civil War actually said. Like, Bill Maher's like, who's going to be fighting? There's no North and there's no South. And everyone says that. And I'm like, there wasn't back then either. The generals for the Confederacy went to West Point, and they were actually having conversations when the states were seceding with the other generals, like, what do we do? And then it was it might have been Jackson. No, it was Robert E. Lee. And he was like, I have to make a decision now for my country or my home, and I don't know what to do. And then he went home and he said, I've chosen my home. But they were all friends with each other. Or they knew each other. They went to West Point together. So people don't seem to understand, man. It's crazy. I do not see an off-ramp. Like, I'm going to show, like, we literally have a video where residents are attacking cops because the cops are enforcing an arrest warrant for a deportation. And then a woman gets arrested. So where does that go? One answer is that nobody escalates. The Trump administration says don't go and arrest anybody who was there or involved. Let them just do it. Maybe.
I mean, that. Unfortunately, I think that's probably the way that it would go, because that's what Trump did.
And then the left says we need to get violent and de-arrest these deportees like we do at the riots.
All right, if they get violent, then they.
But they did get violent. And the left has something they call a de-arrest. They wear black blocs so you can't identify them in court and then get away with the crimes. And if a cop is arresting someone, they run up, grab the person, shove the cops, and pull the person out. De-arrest, that's what they call it. If the police don't arrest these individuals who are interfering with ICE raids, the left is going to be like, they're going to show the videos to people and say, trust us, they will not arrest you for this. And then you get 100 Antifa attacking ICE agents.
No, that's true, but they can do this. The police still have other means to wrap people up, right? Like they can go to houses when there's not a mob of people around. These people have places.
And then the video is going to go viral, and the left is going to say
you can always come up. You can always come up with an escalation. But if your point is that there's going to be an escalation and that there's nothing that we can do, that's fine. But I'm telling you what the police will do.
The point has always been.
Well, then that's fine. But the point that I'm making is the police will continue to act. You cannot have, the police will not allow the total abolishment of all law. They're going to behave. They're going to do things that they need to do to try and enforce the law.
And this is the long-standing point I've been making for 7 years now. When we were watching left and right beat each other mercilessly in the streets, and I was looking at them calling Donald Trump a traitor, unprecedented things were happening in this country. And I said, wow, this is going to escalate. What happened? It literally did in the most psychotic of ways that you couldn't have possibly have dreamed up. The J6 riots were crazy. Charging Trump with 34 fake felonies is crazy. Arresting his lawyers, crazy. And where we are today, it's only gotten crazier.
I mean, I do agree with you, and I've been, I'm right there with you saying I don't see the off ramp, And
and the point is this is nuts, man.
And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about how they don't have a platform on the left right now outside of just not Trump. Like, if they were politically expedient in trying to work to actually win elections, they could find somebody with a moderate platform to calm people down. But the most fervent people in their party are also these who are acting the most rash. So there's nobody on that side to be a calm voice, to get everybody together, to get them to coalesce around new ideas. They've only got anger.
They can't, because you're not going to convince someone who is a communist to not be a communist.
Yeah.
What I think people need to understand, and many of you probably already do, you rarely convert a person. Most people who hold an ideological view had that since they were young. And so what's happened with the left is that you have all these different factions of Democrat, liberal, and you can see this in the Pew Research data, how there's a spike in the left, but then there's a wide range. A moderate lib is not going to agree with a communist. They'll vote together probably, though. So you're not going to be able to get a politician who's going to be able to effectively communicate to communists and to moderate libs. Mm-hmm. So there's not going to be a coalescing around any ideas other than Trump bad. The only thing they share, all factions, is we hate the right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see, like I said before, I don't see the off-ramp. I don't know that it's something that is going to turn into a problem this particular year, because it is an off year, off election year. Election years tend to be the ones that are the most spicy. But I also, I don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. So,
Well, is there an off ramp in just the fact that so much of it is? I mean, we're talking about ICE, we're talking about stuff like that, but it's a lot of coalescing around the hate for Trump. But he's not up for re-election, in the next term. So who do they transfer that over? Because it has to eventually move on to whoever they end up putting up for election in 2028. I don't know if you can build the same level of hatred around another candidate. Trump has this unique ability to really, really upset a specific type of person and really, really make another type of person laugh. And that's very divisive. And I don't know if there is that person on the right that is going to have that same level.
we've talked about this a little bit in the past week. They were trying to set up that DeSantis was worse
I
than
remember
Donald
that.
Trump. As when DeSantis seemed like he was doing well in the polls, the left was, you saw the news saying, Ron DeSantis is actually worse than Donald Trump because blah, 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 whatever reason they could come up with. But I don't think that it's Donald Trump. As much as people say it's Donald Trump, I really don't think that it's Donald Trump, because the narrative of whoever's on the right is a Nazi, they were doing it to George Bush. They were doing it to especially because George Bush was looking to do an expansive war. He was looking to go into Iraq, and the left has been using the tactics of call your opponents Nazis, call them fascists. They've been saying that that has been a tactic on the left for so long, and just now they've been able to spread it in a way that they never were before because of the internet.
Yeah, but the hatred of Trump goes beyond just the people who were calling Bush a Nazi back in 2004. Your aunt who never cared about politics suddenly has strong opinions on this one specific politician, and it's fractured a lot of relationships.
I think that's a symptom of the internet and the way that the left has influenced the media and stuff. The left took it used to be the right, the Christians and the right were the culturally dominant force in the United States. Once Christianity kind of started to fall out of favor with the normies, and you saw it in people with the numbers of people going to church and calling themselves devout Christians. Once that happened, it was really replaced by this amorphous, just be good to everybody, just be a
kind.
Nice guy. Exactly.
Be kind.
Be kind person.
The worst person you've ever met in your entire life has a be kind sticker on their car.
Exactly right.
My least favorite neighbors have those signs.
They do. They all do.
You don't mow their lawns. They're the most stuck up ones. They're
No
terrible.
human is illegal.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's no regulating factor. There's no limiting factor. With Christianity, you have a set of rules, and there are things you do and you do not do. You have this with the left. You have this amorphous be kind, right? And that became the dominant kind of perspective from people. And it was like, oh, live and let live, and just be kind and be nice. And I forget where I was going with that.
Do you think the choice to elect an American pope is a form of outreach towards falling rates of Catholicism here in America?
I don't know.
Maybe
Because nobody expected him to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was at 1% on all the prediction
My
markets.
goodness.
That was bad for them.
I would have.
Can I just say though that I'm a cradle Catholic. These prognostication markets on the Pope are just all bullshit.
Because
absolute garbage.
Yeah, they did not know.
They have no clue. It's
On the election, they did great.
yeah, on the election it's fine, but you can talk to those people. Good luck getting a hold of these bishop or these cardinals and getting who they're preferring for Pope.
Do you think Pope Leo is woke?
No, I think we should pause and wait. You can tell a lot about a pope based on the name he chooses. That's what was concerning about Francis. He was the first Francis. But Leo, choosing the name Leo is fantastic. Leo the First Leo the Great is actually how he's remembered. He was an amazing pope, and he's called Leo the Great for a reason. But Leo the 13th is the one that is the Leo that came right before the 14th, this recent one. He is the guy that gave us the St. Michael prayer, which is it's the ultimate spiritual warfare prayer.
The one that triggered all that outrage when Trump posted or something?
Yes. But the cool thing is, so there's some history here. Pope Leo XIII had this vision of the devil getting a deal from God. He said, the devil said, basically, give me a century and I'll destroy the whole world and your church. And so God said, okay, I'll give you additional leeway because God keeps the devil in line. And Pope Leo XIII saw this and he said, all right, every mass you have to say the St. Michael prayer because this is a spiritual warfare battle. So you got that going. But even more importantly, Pope Leo XIII produced an encyclical, which is a papal document instructing the church on teaching. And it was called Rerum Novarum. And it was the first document that really went after the errors of communism. It also went after a lot of the shortfalls and shortcomings of capitalism. So I think it's very promising. I don't think this guy is going to be woke. I have a lot of optimism. I think we should give him a chance. Let's wait and see. But he has a lot of base quotes about abortion and about protecting the unborn and protecting our elderly, but also against gender ideology. So let's just give him some time. I'm actually very optimistic about this guy.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens, I suppose.
It's better than Francis II, I'll tell you that.
Francis was kind of woke, wasn't he?
Super woke. And he was vindictive. You know, I heard a story.
South America and the whole liberation theology was why, right?
It was bad. Yeah. It was bad. And he was super confusing. He was not well thought. He wasn't well spoken. He was not academic in any way whatsoever. But Pope Leo XIV is an Augustinian, which means, so the Augustinian order was founded by St. Augustine. Right, so all the way back, this is a very academic, intelligent pope.
I don't care that he's from America.
Yeah, that doesn't
But I
matter.
do care that he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
And he's a Sox fan.
That's right. We had Portillo's today. I ordered $1,000 worth of hot dogs, overnighted from Chicago, so we could have a party.
Did they arrive cooked? You have to cook them here.
Gotta cook them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's hot dogs. They're basically cooked.
Yeah. Well,
But-
Portillo's is great.
It's funny watching someone try to eat a Chicago hot dog for the first time because it's a monstrosity. So it is poppy seed bun, hot dog, 2 tomatoes, a whole pickle, dill pickle, sport peppers, relish, raw onion, mustard, celery salt, and it is ridiculously difficult to eat.
And it's fantastic to eat.
Everybody loves them. But I'm a Maxwell guy, which is you get a Maxwell Polish is grilled onions and mustard. So if you get a hot dog Maxwell style, it's grilled onions and mustard. That's the way you do it. Grilled onions, caramelized mustard.
I'm a fan of.
Pro tip.
We order pizza and hot dogs. I think we'll do a party here where I'll order $30,000 worth of pizza and hot dogs.
I'm so starving right now.
If people,
I am so hungry.
that was a
literally
joke
rumbling.
reference to WikiLeaks emails, by the way.
Oh, really? Why?
Because there was a leaked email that Obama ordered $30,000. This is funny.
Pizza?
Obama ordered $30,000 worth of pizza and hot dogs for a party in D.C. And idiots were like, that must mean little boys and little girls. No. Obama was ordering Maxwell Street hot dogs and Giordano's. Maybe Lou Malnati's or Pizzeria. No, but probably Giordano's. And it's like $30,000? Yeah, he's overnighting it on a private jet to come in to cater a large party. That's what rich people do. And
That is what rich people do.
And Chicago is famous for, you know, it's really fascinating. In Chicago, we have burger joints, sort of. We have hot dog joints. Mm-hmm. So when I was growing up, we didn't say let's go to the burger joint. We'd go to the hot dog joint.
Like when you mentioned Maxwell Street, it's like the only times I'd ever gone in Chicago was always to get burgers, not to get hot dogs.
They do have burgers, but that's like a side thing.
Yeah.
Is that a Polish thing?
Hot dogs?
Yeah. Or like, why would it be hot dogs and not?
No idea. But when I was a kid, we had a place called Donald's, and it was a hot dog place, not a burger place. And we wouldn't order burgers. We'd order hot dogs. We'd get hot dogs and fries. And they had burgers, but some people would order them sometimes. It's crazy. Everywhere else in the country, everything's a burger joint. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just Chicago's a different universe.
See, you embarrass me because I'm a Quad Cities guy. I'm from the western part of Illinois. And I always thought I knew a lot about Chicago, but every time I come on with you, I learn like you educated me about real Chicago pizza.
Tavern pizza.
Right? And I had no clue.
If you hear my stomach rumbling, I apologize. That started even before we started talking about food.
We still have, I think, 30 hot dogs left, all the buns, all the fixins.
To do that.
And we got Maxwell Street Polish. We didn't even make those yet. Did you see that Portillo's made the Leo?
No.
Portillo's, famous Chicago hot dog. They got a couple in California because I guess the owner vacations, but they don't want to expand outside of Chicago for the most part. They made an Italian beef with giardiniera called the Leo. And we have a jar of Giardiniera downstairs, and Tate was in here, and I was like, check it out. He's like, what's that? And I was like, Tate has never seen this word before. And he goes, Giardiniera? And I'm like, yup,
Close.
Giardiniera.
Wait, so is the Leo in honor of Pope Francis? Or
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
Pope Leo. I mean,
Pope Leo.
I'm still stuck. That's pretty cool.
Let's, here we go. We
Those
got it right
Italian beefs, by the way, from Portillo's are amazing.
Oh, dude.
I get them fully dipped.
There you go.
There we go.
Full dip.
Oh, that's awesome.
Full dip.
That is awesome.
Which
But-
is
but-
Italian beef?
It looks like a hot beef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Leo.
Is there a
Maybe
hot dog in there?
it. Well, so the combo is when you put the Italian sausage, then the beef.
Oh, God, it sounds so goddamn good.
Giardiniera is so good. I
Yeah,
love
it's
Giardiniera.
good.
For those that don't know, it is pickled cauliflower, carrots, jalapeno, celery, and what else? There's one more thing I think. I don't know. It's that. And it's in a jar.
Stupid.
It's so good.
It's amazing. On pizza. My favorite
Oh,
pizza.
on pizza.
Yeah. Giardiniera But you can only get it in Chicago because nobody knows what Giardiniera is anywhere else. New York has some Italian.
My fiance just said we have Portillo's in my hometown now. She's in Detroit. She's like, next time we're there, we'll go and get some.
Wow.
Yeah. I
We-
remember driving by there when we were back in town.
We always wondered in Chicago why they didn't expand rapidly like any other fast food because the lines are always so long
Yes.
that half the time we'd pull up and say, not interested.
Not even worth it.
Yeah.
But Portillo's didn't care. They were like, we have more business we can muster up. So they do what Chick-fil-A does, and they send people out to walk the line and take orders. That way they can get your orders going. Yeah. And they have 2 windows. It's crazy how big Portillo's is. I mean, it's so good. The way they make the burgers is they have a conveyor belt grill, and they put it on. I don't know if Burger King does that, but it goes through it's fire.
Oh, yeah, the flame broil thing. Yeah.
broiled.
Yeah. Super cool. All right, we're going to go to your chats, my friends. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Yeah, do that. Yeah, and we'll read your chats. I was like, is there something else I got to say? I don't know. It's Friday. Dill Knight says, Katie Hobbs got denied. Only legal citizens can vote in AZ elections now if we can get rid of her. Interesting.
That's the way it should be.
Indeed. Let's see. What have we here? YouTube's on the fritz. That was a Rumble rant. All right. Papa Khan says, can we get thoughts and prayers for the 2 corrections officers stabbed by an Arizona man? One officer was stabbed 12 times in the chest. The guy was here illegally and was already convicted of murder. Wow.
So we have an Arizona man hoax now.
They keep doing that.
I wouldn't be surprised if like one of these comic book companies makes a superhero called the Maryland Man.
I
Talk to
hate
Seamus. He can do it.
All right. Evan for US says, seems like I caused quite a storm inadvertently. The other day, Jeremy even made a video, and he seemed kind of upset, especially at Elad. I'm sorry, y'all. Excuse me, maybe I misspoke. He says, I was probably at least a little correct, but still, I probably didn't say what I heard and or saw correctly. Yeah, I guess Jeremy Hambley, the quarterback's mad that Elad insulted him.
Well, Elad was like actually like he seemed like he was mad, like he was PO'd about what Jeremy said. I mean, Jeremy was just a little bit like he was doing a little a little exaggeration, but
Yeah, I spoke to a lot later. It seems like they both misunderstood each other, so
okay,
I don't think it's so serious, but
good.
who knows? I don't know. I don't pay attention like you. So.
All right. Semi Farming says, any thoughts on who is doing the DDoS attack on Rumble? No idea.
Did the stream start fine for you tonight?
Yeah, we had no problems.
We had said to like we had to run it through like 2 or 3 times to get it to work, but we were able to get it up on time for today's show.
Rumble has been under attack all day. Yep. Let's see. Barry and McGrowan says, Tim, it's simple. People don't hang out with people that don't align with their beliefs for fun. People don't vote for people that don't align with their beliefs. Trump won. Yes. Doctor says, James Lindsay is not only woke, but he's not even a classical liberal. He's actually a secular liberal. You can't be an atheist and a classical liberal because natural law and rights are derived from God. He's a revisionist. This is, James Lindsay's become so pathetic and desperate that he's destroyed what brand he had. Because I think he's trying desperately to get back in with the left. So what he's done is he started attacking anyone on the right as woke right, which makes literally no sense because Dave Smith and Candace Owens don't align on anything. Or that's not fair, but they largely are completely different worldviews. The only thing overlapping is criticism of Israel, but Dave Smith's Jewish himself. So it's like this weird thing that James Lindsay's done. There was a tweet, which is I think why Dr. Doctor is super chatting, but it's, let me see if I can pull it up. There's a good example of, for those that aren't familiar, James Lindsay was at one point a prominent liberal personality calling out woke stuff, but now he's literally just woke. And I'll explain why. So Mike Cernovich had a tweet. He said, someone tweeted, no one would be upset if Kanye had released a song called Hail Satan, and I can't stop thinking about that. And this in response to Kanye West putting out, the song that he did. And Lindsay criticized him, saying he's sanitizing evil, which is like, what? He's criticizing the left for being evil. And another individual responded that Cernovich is correct. If Kanye or anybody else put out a song called like Black, I'm just going to read it. Black Pussy Stank. The media and the mainstream would have no problem with it. They'd cheer it on.
Doesn't have quite the same ring as WAP, but yeah.
Well, but this is the point. James Lindsay is arguing then, and this is where I'm saying, like, this dude has fallen off and become desperate and is literally doing what woke people do. He says, wrong. How have you forgotten that this Sam Smith BS from 2 years ago when Sam Smith dressed up like Satan and did body shop with the trans person? And it's just, yes, he was celebrated on the Grammys. Yeah. They cheered for him. It was accepted. The Grammys also had WAP. They celebrated this. Kanye West is blacklisted because he did a Nazi song. This is the point Cernovich is making. You're allowed to hail Satan, but not Hitler. We understand Hitler is bad. Satan is also bad. So my point is, I saw that, and it's another grain of sand in the heap. And I think also Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee and many others are trying to push this narrative of a woke right, which literally does not make sense. They may as well say alt-right. They're saying anyone who is outside of our Overton window is woke right. That's why they've lumped Aaron McIntyre with Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and Dave Smith.
They couldn't be more different.
And I'm like, what? These people are all different.
Right. Well, I think, look, I know James. He's a friend of mine. I really like him, but I hate what he's doing here. And there was I forget which outlet had it, but the left is already using this woke right in their headlines to attack us. And in just a few short years, when anyone hears the word woke in the media, it's going to be used against the right. It's never going to be used against the left.
This is what James Lindsay is trying to do. That's why he started this. And I believe it's because at some point he decided Trump is going to lose and he doesn't want to be on the wrong side of history. This is what woke generally is. The core component, I describe woke as cult-like adherence to liberal social orthodoxy. And the reason I do is it makes no sense to be anti-war, anti-military industrial complex, and pro-Ukraine war. It makes their positions are incoherent. 2 + 2 = 5. They all know that makes no sense, but they will rationalize it in any means possible to adhere to their cult. James Lindsay attacking the right of various different political right-wing factions, not even necessarily right-wing necessarily, like libertarian, makes no sense, except for he's trying to be on the outs with the Trump MAGA coalition so that he can eventually find his way back into doing podcasts with leftists and liberals because he's scared Trump will lose and he wants to have a career in the future.
Well, I would say that I've read a lot of these forums on woke right, and I think at the heart of it, these are people that believe that all of our laws should not make. They believe that none of our laws should make values judgments. That they should all be neutral. So the disagreement is, I think that our laws should distinguish between good and evil. That is the point of it. You should not treat evil equally with good, because evil will crowd out all the good and there won't be any more good.
There's no definition of woke right.
None.
Right. James Lindsay basically made incoherent statements that he claimed were coherent, and he's got followers who think he's telling the truth and he's not. Like, let me stress again, like Aaron McIntyre, I guess what would you describe him as, like a civic nationalist?
Yeah. Smart dude too.
Right. I don't understand how he overlaps with Nick Fuentes. And when James Lindsay was asked who's an example of woke right, he said Aaron McIntyre. And I said, yeah, that guy is like got nothing in common with Nick Fuentes.
Nothing.
So, but what was the attack then? Go back 7 years. What the liberal institutions were doing, the universities, was labeling everybody outside of their Overton window, including libertarians, alt-right. Then, after they created the phrase alt-right, they morphed it into white nationalist.
Right.
The strategy was, and there was a dude I knew, not a political, he was a comedian. And when they started the alt-right smears, labeling anybody alt-right, this dude saw some libertarian guy, probably Dave Smith, and he thought, well, I agree with libertarians, so I must be alt-right too. And then I remember one day he said, I was talking to him, and he's a comedian. And then I was like, well, where do you fall on the political spectrum? He said he was alt-right. And I was like, for real? And I was like, white nationalist? Like, and he was like, no, just like, like libertarian, Ron Paul. And I said,
Well, that was the
you
thing
see what the media did.
Yep.
Now James Lindsay is doing that because he's a scumbag. He is trying to create a term to attach it to various different groups of people. Once they do, they're then, in the press is going to take it, like you said, they're going to start using woke right, redefining it so that anybody who's ever been labeled that will fall under a different umbrella.
Right.
Likely going to be anti-Semite, white nationalist. This is the same playbook they used before. Why is James Lindsay doing it? He claims he sacrificed his tribe. What actually happened is he became irrelevant. And when you're ousted from the liberal factions of universities and can't get a job because you've called them out for their lies, the only work you're going to find is on the other side. The problem is his body of work is no longer relevant. He did the Circle Square hoax. He's no longer relevant in the space. So he can't get an in with the right. He gets mocked over the golden Trump statue, whatever happened with that. So he's got nothing. So he goes, I need to get back in with the university. It's the only career path I have for making money and surviving. Also, he has like a stepdaughter who was attacking him over this stuff. It seems like there were family issues, career issues. And so he goes, I'll just attack everybody on the right as woke right, putting me at odds with Trump and his base. I will then publicly declare that I've sacrificed my tribe. Watch, in 6 months to a year, he'll be on a bunch of liberal podcasts. He'll be on Midas Touch, and he'll be talking about how the right has gone woke and adopted things that are bad, and he should have seen it coming. There you go. Let's read more. All right, we've got James. He says, as a Georgian, there are a lot of folks here still sore over how Biden's FEMA, helped after Helene. We should swing red, especially as Fanny is in legal trouble too.
We'd hope so. But
Perhaps. Let's see. What have we here? Mad Max says, GOP wins 2026 midterms. If the economy is doing well, economy should be the total focus for the GOP.
that I agree with.
Agreed. All right. Liber8 USA says, hey guys, the reason we have a population crisis in this country is because we allow unfettered abortion. If we didn't kill babies, we'd have many more people, Correct. Biz says, Tim, have Kanye back on to discuss his new song. It would just, the problem is we'll get banned right away. I'd love to talk to Ye about it. I'll say this. The song is sad. Did you hear it?
I haven't heard it yet.
Okay, so the song it's got a silly name, which I'm not going to say. And it's got a chorus, which you can't say on YouTube. Mm-hmm. But the verse, the lyrics, is sad. Mm-hmm. The lyrics are, they took my children from me. Even with all my fame and money, I can't see my children. Yep. They don't understand what I'm trying to say. They don't understand how I'm feeling. They just, he says it over again. Even with all my fame and money, I can't see my kids. I can't see my children. They froze my bank accounts and took everything from me. And they said, so I became a Nazi. Now I'm the villain. And the sad thing is, if Ye had, this is the problem with being as successful as he is. He couldn't get a real bit of advice, or he was too arrogant to take it. Mm-hmm. So everyone around him is cheering him on as he's just destroying himself. You want to see your kids, Ye? Well, you've burned that bridge, because now they're going to use everything you've done against you to make sure you never see your kids, or make it as hard as possible for you to. But when all this first started, he could have done one thing. Gone on X, said, hey y'all, Ye here. Hey, I'm going to be put on a free show outside the courthouse. They're telling me I can't see my kids. I need your help. Meet me there. 50,000 people chanting, give him back his kids. Give him back his kids.
Yeah.
He's a complicated guy, obviously, but you could always tell he really loved his kids. I mean, that whole interview he did where he's walking through the house and talking about how normal things are. They watch Dateline together. He really loved his family and loved his kids. And he, guys go through stuff. It really sucks. I mean, I can't imagine losing my kids, and it would be terrible.
You know what I think happened? The people who were running his labels and we're doing these deals were Jewish. So he gets into this conflict over family, mental health issues, and there's weird, creepy stuff. I get all that. He then says, how come it's all these Jewish guys that are doing this to me? And thinks it's, quote unquote, the Jews. People then whisper in his ear. He gets bad advice. And he then starts, like, I think the reason he did the song is in his mind, he's like, I'm going to get revenge on you by attacking you in a way that makes you angry and frustrated. So I think he did this song and he's saying these things because he wants to attack the Jews because he blames them for why he lost his family and his contracts and all of this stuff. When in fact it was guys who happened to be Jewish, not the Jews, as in all of them.
Right.
But he doesn't want to hear that. Anytime anybody says that to him, he gets angry and storms off or complains about it. He's like, no, I want to be mad at every single one of them. And it's like, we get what you're saying, bro. We do. Even Jon Stewart came out and said there's a lot of Jews in Hollywood. But the way you're going about it sounds like you're saying something else.
Yeah.
Say la vie, man. He could have got his kids back, I guess. Or he could have got something. He had a lot of power with fame and money, but...
Yeah.
All right. Asso says, Tim, the Fight Club Politic Culture War upload was the best political video I've ever seen. Also, you really solidified for me that you're my favorite pundit. No glaze. Keep up the good work. Share the culture war if you liked it.
No glaze.
That was just the pilot, man. I don't even care if I'm good or bad or whatever. Being on stage with an audience and having a debate with a crowd is
It's fun.
1,000 times better than anything in the political space.
It's fun.
It's like working with the crowd and having them cheer. We gave everybody little, like, I don't know what you call it, little signs. On one, it's a D20, and one side was a 1, the other side was a 20. And that's our meme, because, you know, do you know D&D?
Dungeons and Dragons? A little bit.
When you roll a 1, it's a critical failure.
Uh-huh.
When you roll a 20, it's a critical success.
Okay.
Ian on the show one day said, I feel like I'm either going to roll a 1 or a 20 whenever I speak. And everyone started laughing, like, that accurately describes Ian.
Yeah.
Half the time he's saying the stupidest thing you've ever heard. It could be stupider. And then the other half, he's saying something that you didn't consider, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. And so we made...
I love you. He's so smart. He's so...
Oh, smart. That's
like
a new
that.
one.
Thank you for reading me in on that reference. That's good.
But so everybody was holding up, when someone would say something, they'd hold up a 20 or a 1.
Yeah. And
so we're hoping to do more of these and get a bigger venue. And I think...
How do people... how do you hear about it? How do you sign up to go?
Timcast.com members.
Okay.
So everybody there was a member.
Okay.
Except for we don't want it to be all ideologically similar. So we told Pisco, the liberal lawyer, invite some of your friends, some liberals. And so we had liberals on stage. We brought people up from the crowd to join us on stage and get in the debate for like 5-10 minutes.
That's pretty cool.
It was very fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So for like a half an hour we debated. Then we bring people up to join the debate with us. And I'm hoping that we can do like 100 seats, public tickets in the future. Or it would right now we're bouncing ideas around. 80 seats for sale, open to the public. 20 seats members only, first come, first serve, something like that. And then if you want to join the debate, you have to be a member. But we want the seats for the public because we want anybody to show up, like people who aren't just members to show up. The reason is we want there to be if the audience is just our members, they're booing the liberal the whole time.
Yeah.
And we want some back and forth. So we're trying to figure out how to do it.
You're onto something. I mean, Americans want these types of debates. They want real debates and discussions like this. This could actually blow up to something much bigger than just 100 people. Maybe that's not what you want.
Well, no, I think we could probably sell at 1,000 seats.
Yeah.
The issue was so that was the first conversation I had with Sean. I was like, should we do 1,000-seat venue? Because if we announce it, we sell tickets, we're going to pack the house. In fact, for the purpose of the show, we don't even need to sell the tickets. We could do $5 at the door, and we're going to sell this show out, especially in the DC Metro. And then, Sean said we should do a pilot and figure out how to do it before we try and sell at a big venue, because otherwise it'll be chaos.
Yeah.
And he was right. I think we're going to do a handful of smaller shows and then maybe go for like 200 seats.
Yeah.
But I think we do them. I want to do them every week, like a regular weekly thing where people are like, if I'm in town, I'll come. The DC Metro has more than enough people to come and join us.
Yeah.
And then if you get touring comedians and other personalities who are coming in town that time, I think this could very well be like a thing people are like, oh, when I go to DC, I want to make sure I check out Culture War. I think it'll be fun.
Yes.
Something like that.
I love it. I think it's awesome.
So here's hoping. So I think we're planning the next one for 1 month from now.
Very cool.
Probably gonna be same venue, new personalities, new subject, and then But we gotta have Alex Stein. I told Alex we need Alex at every single one.
He's so good, dude. He's the funniest human being of all time.
The main issue is if we invite someone to debate and they're really bad, getting kicked off by me would suck.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that funny of a guy. It's just, what would I say? I'd be like, hey, bro, you suck. Get off the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Stein kicking off is memorable.
Yes.
Him.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And then you're having a good time and you're part of an
He's
Alex.
outrageous. That's the best word for him. He's outrageous.
I feel like if I were to tell someone to get off the stage, they'd have a negative experience. But if Alex did it, it's something they'd want filmed and to share with their friends.
Yeah, it would go viral.
Just being like, yo, look when Alex was yelling at me. It's fun. And I'm like, we need someone who's having a good time and crazy like that, So I'm super excited. Alaskan Ballistic says, if you get a check from the federal government, you shouldn't be able to vote. What about your tax refund?
That's your money.
That's still a point, though, because business owners don't get refunds.
Yeah.
They pay quarterly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're never getting a refund. You're paying what you're told to pay or your estimates. That's not true. You can get a refund because if what happens is based on your last year's taxes, you got to pay an estimate. And then if you don't and you end up owing more taxes, you get a penalty. But if you end up owing less, if you pay your estimates but then don't make as much money, they'll give you a refund. Yeah. I love paying too much taxes.
I'm sure.
Because at the end of the year, they're like, you actually paid too much, so you only owe $1,000. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Because our tax bills are...
I'm sure.
You ever see a 6-figure tax bill?
No. Please, God.
Anyway. Jacob Jones says, personally, I prefer Winter Soldier. High-stakes espionage spy heist thriller. I love that he was willing to self-sacrifice to save his best friend.
Yep.
And one of the best scenes ever is when Captain America gets on the intercom and then he says, S.H.I.E.L.D. has been taken over by Hydra. He gives his little speech and then he's like, fight with me. If I'm the only one willing to do it, then so be it. But then when Crossbones walks up to the guy and he's like, launch the ship now. And he's like, I can't do that. And then he points the gun at him and he's like, captain's orders. I love that scene.
To me, it's when Fury and him are going down in the elevator and Fury's telling the story of his grandfather walking home every night.
Yeah.
And the speech when they talk about the differences as they're launching the ships and he's talking about the cost of controlling a populace through fear as opposed to actual freedom. I thought that was the...
What was the story? Is like my granddad bought a gun or something?
Yeah, he's like he carried the gun in his lunchbox and they'd tell him get to stepping. That was he's like granddad loved people, but he didn't trust them much.
Yep. All right. Brad Peters says the vigilantism is starting already. Poso had the story. Indiana man was offed by cops in attempt to off man who offed his great grandkids. There's no off ramp.
Yeah, that was Sean was talking about that last night too.
Wait. He was killed?
There was a man that was killed, a young man that was killed by a police officer, and then the man's father went and killed another police officer who was not in the same...
No, I know that, but that's not what they said.
What did he say? I'm sorry.
An Indiana man was offed by cops in an attempt to off a man who offed his great grandkid.
Oh.
It's a different story.
Yeah, that is a different story. My bad.
Yeah. Which story was that?
I don't know.
Poso had it?
So there's just going to be one for every state. There's going to be an Indiana man.
Yeah, this just happened.
A Wyoming man.
Just today?
Yeah. What? Chicago police fatally shoot man who allegedly fled to Indiana, fired shots at officers. Is that the story? Let me read real quick. Accountability investigating the shooting. According to police, the person being saw in connection with the aggravated battery. The man crashed a vehicle in Dearborn. No, this is a different story. You search for Indiana shooting and cops, and you're going to get 500 stories all at once. So, sorry.
Gary.
But I'll take a look at what Poso had.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Blake says the Bali war is heating up.
Oh, God. The Bali War.
R. Terry says, watched Thunderbolts today. It was actually good. No woke trash. So they added the new Avengers thing at the last minute?
That was filmed like 4 weeks before the movie came out.
Wow. You know what's funny is during the Super Bowl, they weren't advertising Captain America. They were advertising Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
And we were here, and someone, I can't remember who it was, they were like, why aren't they advertising Captain America? It's coming out in a few weeks.
It was already a financial loss. They knew they weren't going to
Yep.
get their money back on it. They're still filming stuff for Fantastic Four right now.
Yep.
Yep. That's not good.
It's because, let me just say this. When they started making these superhero movies, they were one-offs. And they only slightly connected them. So when Avengers happened, it was like, oh man, all of these individual movies are coming together in one story that's going to be fun. Then they were like, okay, that worked. Let's do it every single time forever now.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yep.
It was better when they were just tangentially connected through one through line that you could remember. But now they make sure that all of the Easter eggs connect to other properties, and it ends up turning it into homework for everybody. And nobody wants their entertainment to be frickin' homework.
Yep. Doctor Strange is one of my favorite movies. It was awesome. But then they did Multiverse of Madness, and it was just the Avengers again.
I liked that one fine. Too long.
They sidelined all the original characters and did an entirely different story that was predicated upon a TV show that people didn't watch.
Well, that's because it was like when I was watching, I'm like, why is Scarlet Witch evil? Oh, I forgot.
I tried watching Daredevil, and I was like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
Fisk went to prison?
Yeah, because you weren't watching Echo or
Of course I didn't watch Echo.
or any of the other stuff that he's been in.
Uh-huh.
They should have just left it at seasons 1 through 3 anyways.
The problem is they used to make a movie where it's like, this is Captain America. Here's his adventure. Bye. Now they're like, this is Captain America with his friend, Captain Bob and Captain Jane and Captain
So
Smith.
that we can spin off into Captain Bob.
And you guys remember when Captain America fought, the Spike guy? No. Well, Spike Guy's actually evil now. I don't know who Spike Guy is.
I mean, but what they did was like it was based on like the crossovers that they used to do in the comics, like Secret Wars and stuff like that. So that for me, like I thought that it was cool when they did it with the Avengers. It did get too big when they were like, oh, you got to watch our television show and you got to watch this.
Yeah,
episode
that's
of
the
thing,
issue.
blah, blah, blah.
Infinity War was based on a comic run,
Yeah.
although vastly changed. Still was all done before they started implementing all the Disney Plus shows that turned it into homework.
Infinity War was the end.
Yeah.
When Captain Marvel came in, the theater I was in, everyone groaned. There were two moments everyone groaned. It was when,
Girl boss team up.
she's not alone, and all the women walk up. The whole, oh.
I imagine everybody like rolled their eyes when they were filming it.
And then I was watching it in Maryland somewhere. And then when Captain America gets headbutted by Thanos and she doesn't flinch, the whole audience groaned. Like, oh my God.
It's because everybody remembers the scene when Thanos is like, when Captain America has Thanos by the gauntlet and it's taking every bit of his strength to keep him from finishing him off. And that scene closed the trailer, and that's great storytelling. That's great art.
And there's no, the issue largely is like, there's a scale of power. And so at the start of Infinity War, the reason why Hulk loses to Thanos was to show the audience how strong Thanos was. So then when they had Captain Marvel be invincible, it was just like,
It also kind of heightens Thor's story as he's, from Infinity War.
cringe. Endgame was a disappointment. But anyway, my friends, it's been a fun Friday night. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Terry, do you want to shout anything out?
You check me out on every social media account at Schilling 1776. SCHILLING 1776.
Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and on Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. But what you should check out is Pop Culture Crisis. Me and Mary are live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are no longer just on YouTube. We have gotten onto Rumble now. So if you are not following us over there, you should go and follow us on Rumble as well. We need to catch up. We're at like 359,000 subscribers on YouTube and like 1,000 on Rumble. So let's jump those numbers up.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record is entitled Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora, and Deezer. Oh, and YouTube. And don't forget The Left Lane is for Crime.
We will see you all throughout the weekend with clips, and then we're back Monday. Thanks for hanging out.